to you, and today's benefit is a replacement for God. 1 Samuel 12 verses 12 to 15, New Living Translation. But when you were afraid of Nahash, the king of Ammon, you came to me and said that you wanted a king to reign over you, even though the Lord your God was already your king. All right, here is the king you have chosen. You asked for him, and the Lord has granted your request. Now, if you fear and worship the Lord and listen to his voice, and if you do not rebel against the Lord's commands, then both you and your king will show that you recognize the Lord as your God. But if you rebel against the Lord's commands and refuse to listen to him, then his hand will be as heavy upon you as it was upon your ancestors. When Samuel was done taking Israel down memory lane about how unfaithful their fathers had been to God, he then came back to the real issue between them and God, based on what they desired. It was mind-blowing the way Samuel amplified the implication of their request to have a king rule over them. Sometimes we have thoughts, desires, and prayer requests that we don't know the implication to the position of God or his will over our lives. Are we going to say the people of Israel innocently asked God to give them a king? Of course, there were issues with leadership from the children of Samuel, which was not acceptable to God as well. And it was not the first time they saw what the children of Eli also did. This may be a very strong excuse to make a case for a new style of leadership, but the question is, should they come to conclusion without giving God the benefit of doubt if he was going to do anything about it? Samuel did not mince words to tell them that their demand for a king was a direct request to tell God to step aside in the affairs of their lives. He said, "You came to me and said that you wanted a king to reign over you, even though the Lord your God was already your king." This is serious. Beloved, if we are brought before God to examine some of the prayer requests or actions we have taken at one time or another, will it not be suggestive that we are asking God to step aside from our fears? Some of the times, we may have justifiable reasons based on our human assessment to make such demands from the Lord. Maybe we felt the Lord is delaying in acting on our behalf, or we think the answer he gave to our prayers is not the way we expected it. Maybe the choice of a fiancé that God showed to you is not what you desire. Then, you told God that he has to change the plan. You forced God to sign you to another man or another woman. Or the location God planted you, which you know clearly was the Lord's leading. But at a point, you became tired of the place and moved, thinking when you leave, God will also move with you. This may be applicable in several ways in our lives, both in our walk with God and our personal pursuits. The question God is raising with us today is, why are you replacing me and my will over your life? Though God gave into the request, but with a condition that both they and their king will not continue in their rebellion. Rebelling against God is something subtle that the devil can bring to our hearts as believers when we start to make requests or take actions that are outside the purpose of God for our lives. Any action or desire you have, different from the will of God, is seeking a replacement for God in your life. So, be mindful of your longing and desires. So Lord, we repent of several desires and ambitions that have set us against your plans over our lives. Please forgive us and help us to do your will in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thanks and enjoy today's benefits.